formazione.
Ciao Luca. Ciao Luca. Tutto in ordine? Come va? Ok. An artillery carriage upgrade. Alright, we are gonna have to research some of that in the near future. We're also gonna have to research planes, though. How about ships? Yeah, ships as well. Okay, so what about ships? Okay, doctrine. You have Grand Fleet, Fleet in Being. Is that any decent? Oh, we already started with it. Guess we might as well just continue with it. Good evening, Ave Kaisar. Happy to see you here. Naval research speed plus 15%. Sounds good. How about tanks, though? Yeah, tanks. Tanks. Tank research. And next up, tank designer. So this is medium tank. This is light tank. Zalve. Chinese United Front forms. Of course. Anyway. Of course the Chinese United Front is just so great. Oh yes, get that Libyan oil. Because right now we are importing oil. And now there's no need to import oil. Which is even better. Libyan oil fields. Right, so I was going down that route. Did I want this stuff too? Not at first, even though it's gonna be useful. I did want to get the extra tank things. However, oh yes, yes indeed. These are really, really good. Oh, available as tank designer. Okay, so we cannot actually take it before this, so let us do that. By the way, hello to everyone that's joining in right now. Wait, why are we doing this with the USA and not with the Germany? Me no understand. Alright, here we go. Right, because I want the Ansaldo designer. And to get that, we need to have completed the focus armor effort. Alright, I see. I see what you mean. Right. Wait, what? Requires the following technologies: tank radios. Really now? So to do Blitzkrieg, we need to have tank radios? Okay. How far are we from tank radius? Quite far away. Holy hell. Yeah, tanks breakthrough plus 20. It's like, Jesus Christ, man. It's so much better than anything you find over here. Like, as much as, you know, motorized, it's also pretty good. It's like, yeah, that armor spearhead. The problem is, again, it's really far away. Just wanted to say, you're probably my favorite HOI4 content creator on YouTube, because you actually know a lot about things and you talk about and you have a deep knowledge in them. Thanks a lot. I do try to maintain least plausible like plausible knowledge on things. Like, I generally tend to abide by the rule of, if I do not know what the fuck I'm talking about, I shut my mouth. Well, not all the time. Not perfect, but yeah. That's the idea, at least. That is the idea. But yeah, I will require some electronics research. So yes, we're gonna have to take the MINCULPOP, the Ministero di Cultura Popolare. I had a strange feeling when playing this mod. I felt oppressed by it. So much to do. We're gonna see if we get oppressed as well. Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna have to get the MINCULPOP because this gives research to electronics. Now, in real life, the MINCULPOP was the Ministry of Popular Culture, aka the propaganda ministry, basically. And lasciatemi chantare. And essentially, its objective was to produce essentially propaganda, right? And so it was relatively, it was a relatively important thing. And yeah, then you get to create the Istituto Luce, the state film agency, which was some nasty shit. And so yeah, like if you take a look at like historical footage from Italy from around this period and onwards, you see that it's basically all Istituto Luce. And Luce just means light. So yeah, it was the Light Institute. Weapons and equipment, motorization research. How are we on motorization? Right, we need to look here. No. Here. Apparently. We've got the basic truck, but no half-tracks. What do you think of Article 13 passing and how it will affect your YouTube channel? It shouldn't have affected my YouTube channel, and I don't particularly care because it's like, oh look, freedom of speech getting restricted on the internet. Who would have thunk it, you know? Literally a platform where everything is channeled through, like, you know, mega industry controlled channels, right? It's like people that thought that you could have freedom of speech on the internet don't really realize how, like, you know, it's basically just a bunch of really, really big corporations that control it. So, what were you going to expect, seriously? I wonder if these coastal divisions are any decent. Yeah, they're not. Right, but we have a bunch of equipment, so we can probably turn them into, like, colonial infantry, right? Yeah, but wait, hold on. Let's check out the stats. Something we should be doing. So the Guarnigione... Divisione di Guarnigione has 4,500 manpower. This one is 5,000. How much of that is from this? 350 and 400, so 700. Okay, so this is 5,000 manpower. Soft attack. Yeah, this one's quite a bit better. However, I'm not sure if it's because of anything. Breakthrough, but you don't care about that. Soft attack plus 6.5, soft attack plus 8. This one has more hard attack. But it has less production cost and requires less manpower, so I think that the garrison battalion is just better. So blame the capitalistas. Yeah, but you should blame the capitalistas anyway, you know? It's like, don't particularly care about the whole Article 13 stuff in general. Artillery. Do we have artillery? We do, but not enough. Pack artillery. No bueno. Yeah, let us just do this, just to be sure. Put an artillery company, put a engineer company, put an HQ. Wait, what? Yeah, here's an HQ. And maybe a maintenance company, so you can steal shit? Would that really be required? Like, stealing shit is good, right? So yeah, might as well do it. So we changed all of that to that. Blame Italian Eggman. Of course. Not sure what that's supposed to mean, but yeah, do that. And then, yeah, we also turn these into the garrison. And now we can garrison everything. And then we just keep an actual infantry army to do actual infantry things. One thing I'm not really understanding about this mod is how... Yeah, that's probably pretty good. One thing I'm not really understanding about this mod is how the manpower is supposed to work, because you just seem to get more manpower, just in general. You know? Stealing shit is good, the Woodstock 2019. Of course, my friend. Stealing shit is always good. Wait, what? Didn't I do appoint Messe? Available as military high command. Oh well. Kill yourself. So you don't actually get him as a general. So you don't actually have any armor generals. Okay. How terrible. Yeah, he's got 58% towards Panzer Leader, but he's also got Bearer of Artillery. So he's just the best overall. Is this mod some sort of mod which implements Hearts of Iron free mechanics? Not as far as I know. Doesn't really implement Hearts of Iron free mechanics. Tan Eggman is Mussolini. Right, he actually does, like, Mussolini's bald head kind of would look like an egg. Anyway. Let's train infantry divisions. So it looks like our main bottlenecks are artillery. Although, for some reason we have both pack and regular artillery. Or do we want that? It's a big question, is it? So normal artillery is 28 soft. The only reason you're getting artillery is soft attack, by the way. So every other stat doesn't really matter. So you're getting 28 soft attack as opposed to 21 and double the hard attack. More defense, more breakthrough. Let's see in relation with the cost. In relation with the cost, the pack artillery is slightly more cost effective because 162 production cost for 21 soft attack as opposed to 234, which is like 50% more pricey. You know, not really that, like, okay, how about, are there any terrain modifiers we need to be aware of? Ooh, 36 soft attack for the heavy artillery. Huh. Anyway, terrain modifiers, probably a little bit better for the pack artillery. So overall, it doesn't seem like regular artillery is really much better than pack artillery. In fact, maybe it's a little bit worse. However, normal artillery does pack more punch per combat width. So, yeah. I'm thinking that that's, you know, that's quite good. Is there a common path for Italy? I don't think so. Hi, Marcello. Also, my infantry is just fucking terrible overall. For some reason, I've got light infantry instead of normal infantry, which is really bad-o. Really, really bad-o. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace this with normal artillery, and then put a pack artillery, like, support company. Does this mod change focus trees? It does. It does change focus trees. As you can see right now, the Italian one's a little different. We do need, like, quite a lot of extra production on artillery, though. Like, right now, 2 more tungsten, right, for that. And for every factory we increase, so 6 more factories. Get those on it. And get more tungsten. Although, for some reason, we need less steel. Okay. How dare you say hi to me, you pro-monarchy Portuguese. What? I don't even know. Fuel refining, civilian to military factory conversions. No care. Just, no care, really. So excavation 2, very nice. Oh, that's why. That's why we need less. Okay, that's really fine. Yeah, Article 13 got passed. Whoop-de-doo-doo. Who cares? As I've already said. Okay, we can fill out our military staff, I guess. Although... industrial research... all I wanted to ask was a Partigiano Italy. Was that a lot? Apparently, yes. Ooh, we have a lot of fuel. All right. Speaking of having a lot of fuel, ships. Here you are. Let's put all of you into one fucking fleet and put you in the same place. And we're gonna do naval exercising after we have reorganized everything. Okay, you're still coming in, taking forever. All right. So we have 52 submarines. That's a lot of submarines. Very good. And then we have a relatively okay surface fleet. Woodstock is anti-meme confirmed. You're kidding me? Have you even come on my Discord, my friend? It is impossible for me to be anti-meme. Get the torches ready. Fucking A, dude. The torches. And yeah, having ships performing exercises does destroy your fuel. Speaking of exercising, we could also exercise our planes. First though, we need to get them together. Get them all in Rome. Are they all in Rome? Of course not. You're still taking forever. For some reason that air wing is shitty. Okay. It's gonna affect everyone, not just Europe. It was passed in Europe by the European Parliament. Not sure what you're talking about. XD. Although I do realize what you're trying to say is probably, you know, along the lines of like, ew, but like, you know, it's gonna have repercussions, setting standards, all that kind of stuff. Call the IRA. I know you do. Oh wow. Actually, exercising aircraft consumes a lot more fuel than anything else. Than ships. Interesting. Meme code pop. Very good. So that's extra electronics research. Speaking of all of this, Pact of Steel. The Pact of Steel adds steel. Jesus Christ. Reform the army command structure requires us to have 56 leadership. Alrighty then. Leadership? What are you talking about? Army experience. Leadership doesn't exist in Hearts of Iron 4. It's not a concept. So yes, let us exercise, because a lot of our troops are going to need this exercising. Convert World War I weapons and equipment. Okay, that's not bad. I've already done the Spanish Civil War, so yeah. I guess we just take Regia Marina. Or, oh no, okay. Right, take economy focuses. Economy focuses. Most services like Discord or YouTube will have to crack down on memes now. It's like, oh no. What shall we do about our memes? About our edgy memes, no less. Follow Nanjing. But no, but like region locking is a thing now, you know? Like I'm pretty sure that's a thing. Yeah, I guess give me that light tank, boy. Suspensions. Should probably do this. Which mod is this? This is called Epic Style Comedy. This is called fucking Hearts of Oak.
Si, signore.
Yeah, but that just means typical Americans thinking they're excluded from everything. Oh, but that just means that for European public, it is going to be filtered or whatever. But for everyone else, it might just be fine. And I'm not worried because it's the fucking internet. Like, are you worried if, let's say TV gets fucking censored? Probably not. I do live in a European Union member state, but like, I make retarded things on the internet. I don't, like, make a living with the retarded things. I know they are retarded things. All that kind of stuff. And you can't do anything about it, because, it's a marketing thing, right? Upgrade ship? Interesting. Are these destroyer models right? Like, of course it doesn't tell me how the models are. What a piece of shit. So, models show updated equipment. So, our destroyers right now, some of them are Curatone class, which are just 11111. Some of them are Navigatori class, which also have depth charges. And mine layers, okay. And then I'm guessing some of them are Maestrale, which only have depth charge, right? There's Curatone, Maestrale, Navigatori. Alright, so Curatone is like the least useful one. Why can I not separate? Oh. I seem to be stupid. Wait, no, hold on. Me no understand. Why can I not just separate ships of one type? I don't... What? I'm still really weirded out. Oh, that's how you do it? It was just derpy. This mod made it harder to play Germany. It is nice. Yeah, I'm trying Italy, so who knows. Yeah, and so why do you think the internet's any different? Like, thinking that the internet is just this fucking great haven of freedom of speech or whatever is pretty much a fundamental misunderstanding of how media works. Like, the internet is channeled through fucking corporate. And in fact, the state can have a relatively high impact on it. It's like, yeah, sure, there's more ways to hide your shit, but if you really just want to hide, just publish a newspaper. Like, Okay, so what we want here is we want someone that can run away. Spotting chance. Or that can spot. Because this is going to be the patrol fleet. Bold, naval speed. Career officer, positioning. Yeah, okay, so we probably want this guy in charge. Because this is going to be the patrolling task force. Wait, hold on, what? Oh, right, I'm an idiot. I am really stupid. Really, really stupid. Okay. Wait, what? Reserve fleet? No. Not reserve fleet. How do I make you not a reserve fleet? Okay. Yeah, exactly. So that should tell that should tell you a few things about your country. People do not know how to read. Although to be fair, people do not know how to read in Italy as well. So yeah, that is extremely unfortunate. We want, like, pretty much do not engage with you. Like, just run away all the time. Or I guess engage at low risk. What? Hello? Oh, okay. Sure. Yeah, here we do not have enough. Okay, I see. I see. Internet Trump wall when. Well, he learns from the Chinese, I guess. Alright, then we have the battle fleet, which is going to be Strike Force. Right. Wait, hold on. Should probably not have patrol on right now because, yeah, okay, that was using quite a bit of fuel. But, you know, we just activate the patrol. Yes, okay, and then it does it. Very good. So it remembers what I'm doing. Okay. That's very, very good system. Well, maybe not very, very good, but it works. Well, just running out of 1.9 years if I'm using just my submarines to do stuff. And wait, what are you up to? Oh, right. It's because you're not moving. Sure, I guess. Alright, we're also getting the army experience. Nice army experience. Increase factory shifts. Production efficiency gain. But we don't need production efficiency gain, so who cares? It's a waste of paper, really. And one, it's inconvenient. I mean, like, yeah. Sure, I guess. Don't ally with Germany. Well, you're kind of forced into it in this mod, because you need to take the Pact of Steel and joining the Axis to get, you know, part of your focus tree and invading Greece and all that kind of stuff. Speaking of invading people, can we invade Albania after 1st of January? Although, we can just justify on people. I guess we're not going to justify on people, because we are boring. And we are playing the way it's meant to be played. NVIDIA. Hashtag. Right, we definitely need those tank radios. 52 more days. Still only got 1 research bonus, right? Does that give us 2? Yeah, 2 electronics research bonuses. So we just research infantry equipment. Very good. I guess we can fill out everything else. Grand Fleet Proponent. Sounds good. TBH. Although the naval research also sounds good. So yeah, naval research. Oh, it's just better. Well, I'm an idiot. Okay. Ansaldo. Oh. So that's. Yeah. That's kind of cancerous. Capital ship armor. Screen torpedo attack. Oh. Yes. Oh, but naval research speed minus 5%. Oh well, that's annoying. Yeah, sure, torpedo attack. Torpedo everything. And I guess get some air experience as well, because why the hell not? Very good. But yeah, we can delay our alliance with Germany by quite a bit. That's also doable. Carro veloce. Fast tank. Self-propelled artillery. Are the lands gained from Austria still speaking German at the time of Hearts 1 and 4? Mostly. Well, I mean, there's still some, like, a good amount of that is still German speaking today, so yeah, imagine that. However, the biggest progress towards Italianizing the area was made during fascism because of fascism, obviously nationalistic policies. Is there even a point in building tanks as Italy? Going superior firepower with 40 with infantry seems like a better choice and allows you to focus on Navy and Air Force more. Yeah, but I wanted to do something different. And yeah, like, for example, it was like, you know, like at the beginning of Mussolini's rule, he was pretty anti-German, like very, very much anti-German, because Italian nationalism did look, you know, towards Austria as a historical enemy, and looked towards expansion in the east, right? In the, like, so-called Terra Irredente, the essentially unrelinquished lands, right? That did have Germans in this area, and again, it did see like some of these areas that it had taken over in the First World War, such as Istria, such as South Tyrol, and such as Friuli, to be effectively, you know, colonized by the Germans, so they had to root them out. Effectively. Italian tank division. So strong. Anyway, we can research that self-propelled artillery. Because these divisions do have self-propelled artillery, right? Like the Italian tank division. Oh no, motorized artillery. Armored car. Oh well, I guess we just take it anyway, because why the hell not? Tank Italy build-up is fun. Takes forever. Alright, now we have mediums as well. So, you know, producing some mediums sounds like a pretty good idea. However, we do need so freaking much light artillery. Now, tungsten. Greece has tungsten. And Portugal has tungsten. Who else has tungsten? No one has tungsten. Hatred for tungsten. Such an annoying resource. Salve, and make Italy competent again. You're missing that it was never competent. In the first place. Italian Industrial Triangle. Yes, let's increase that research funding. Get those factories going, 140 of them. You know, 70 civilian industry, pretty damn good. Yeah, some high standards. Approved suspensions? How nice. I wonder if self-propelled AA is any decent. Because, you know, the self-propelled artillery right now, 24 soft attack, that's not the best ever. In fact, it's pretty shit. Hello, Woodcock, how's your fuel going? It's going pretty fine, Mausedonger. Pretty damn fine. Now the self-propelled AA. Air attack 12. How about normal AA? Air attack 12. Ooh. That's good. Production cost is not that big. Piercing 23. Piercing 80. Self-propelled AA doesn't seem that bad. Let's build some of that. Man, we have surplus of everything except for artillery. Funnily enough. Like, damn, apparently artillery is just a cancer that is difficult to produce. Even though we're producing one per day. Ceasefire in China. Okay. Apparently. Oh, you're Gats. Right. I mean, you change names every time, so it gets difficult to actually keep up with you. Not exactly. Not exactly. Like, what Italy wanted to expand in the Balkans was in the coastal areas, not in the interior. And considering that, you know, in the occupation of Yugoslavia, Italy did have to share quite a large part of the burden, and, you know, it was a hell of a burden, and the results were, you know, not exactly stellar. It's easy to see why, essentially. It's easy to see why. And so what ends up happening is that that whole idea of, like, you know, the independent state of Croatia is just so, you know, there's less responsibilities for the actual Italian military. Let's train more garrisons. Divisione di guarnigione. How many more ports do we need to garrison? 1 in Venice, 2 in Trieste, 3 in Zara, 4 Albania, Valona, 5 Tripoli, 6 Benghazi, 7 Tobruk. Don't care about East Africa. So 7, 8 because of Rimini, 9 because of Ancona, 10 because of... What would this be? I have no idea. So 11 more. 11 more garrison divisions. Why are you using NATO symbols? Why not? Still pretty angry about getting kicked out of Cold War for no apparent reason. Yeah, you're gonna have to explain more to me about that whole thing later, because it was just so out of the blue. Like, just completely weird. Alright, 54. Yeah, we need to exercise to get more army XP. More army XP. Hello, Mustafa. Hello there. Scusa la domanda, ma di quale regione sei? Sono dell'Emilia Romagna. Ovviamente, la migliore regione che esiste. Yeah, thanks. Because I'd really like to know what the hell's going on with all of that. Which was worse to you, or rather more deadly and traumatic, the Holocaust or the expulsion of Germans from the Sudetenland, Prussia, and regions all around Eastern Europe? I mean, is it really? Like, come on, it's the fucking Holocaust. Jesus fucking Christ. Like, yeah, sure, the expulsion of the Germans from Eastern Europe. Cold War Discord had their own Red Scare. Was stuck for suspected communists. No, like, seriously, like, the Holocaust was fucking 6 million hashtag people of an ethnicity being killed across, like, so many different previous countries, right? And you're gonna say, yeah, it's the same thing for the Germans, but with the Germans it was an ethnic cleansing, which is different from a genocide. It's still terrible. It's just not quite so terrible. How effective were the PNF's battle for Lira, land, grain, and berths? Also, was corporatism established, and how big of an influence did it have on the Italian economy? Okay, I'm not an expert on this stuff. But I do know that the battle for essentially the berths wasn't really all that effective. Didn't really spur all that much growth in the birth rate. The Lira battle, I do not know. I don't know basically next to nothing about, so I really can't speak about that. The battle for land and grain were the more moderately successful parts of Mussolini's policies. But again, moderately successful. Like, the grain production did increase by quite a bit. Obviously in the framework of autarky, though, so it wasn't really like anything that helped to spur additional economic growth. It was just meant as a security measure. So yeah, not exactly like something that had that many repercussions on Italy's actual, economic performance. In general, like, the whole corporatism stuff, 9 million total, yeah, because you add everything else. The whole corporatism stuff wasn't really established as much. However, some really important steps were implemented, such as Ilva and Iri, which are these two, which essentially, like, Iri is the Institute for Industrial Reconstruction. This was a really, really important initiative that essentially subsidized industry by quite a lot, because it was essentially a fail-safe for any underperforming industry, that it would be essentially, you could say, bailed out no matter what by the government. So when an industry was failing, what happened was the government would step in, the state rather, and buy it up, kind of invest in it, and keep the employment, keep the fixed capital, keep the industry, the facilities, and the know-how at state expense. So yeah, and that kept it became like pretty much, kind of like a Bible of policy for a long, long time. Why is it the best region? I'm gonna get to that in a bit. Some massacres lead to long-term peace. Oh, I don't just condemn except ethnic cleansing and genocide are the same thing. No, actually, they are different. Genocide is ethnic cleansing. All genocides are ethnic cleansing. Not all ethnic cleansings are genocides. You can have ethnic cleansing of, rounding up a bunch of people and forcing them to resettle, which is what happened to the Germans after World War II. It's also what happened to the Italians after World War II. It's also what happened to the Greeks in Anatolia. It's also what happened to, a lot of ethnicities throughout history, Ethnic cleansing, while relatively, tragic, is not a uniquely, dramatic thing. Genocide, on the other hand, is the, organized attempt to wipe out a population, wipe out an ethnic group. And yeah, the ethnic cleansing can be, they can be non-violent, as in, they can just be agreed upon. It's always going to involve some kind of coercion, though, because, you are getting people and forcing them out of their homes in one way or another. And you can say, you can reach a collective decision to do so, but, at the individual level, there's always going to be coercion involved, right? But yeah, it can be bloodless, essentially, while a genocide is just, outright slaughter, organized slaughter of a population. It's also why, a lot of people say, the Indian American genocide. Not exactly correct, The Indian Americans were, in the end, genocided. That was the outcome. But the intent wasn't really there, or it sometimes was, but sometimes wasn't. So, it's kind of difficult to say. While, for example, the Jews, that was a fucking genocide. The Herero in fucking South Africa, that was a genocide. A bunch of, in fact, African populations getting exterminated, that was genocide. Armenians, that was genocide. 1994 Bosnia, that was ethnic cleansing, not a genocide. Rwanda, genocide. It's on the ground, it looks often really, really similar, but in the end, it's different. Much, much different. Because again, you're not making that, extra step into the realm of just deliberate slaughter. Deliberate and organized, and in the case of the Holocaust, in fact, industrialized slaughter, which is, well, you know, something that humanity never really, like, stepped down into ever again. That was just the Holocaust. The only event in history where you have, like, industrialized massacre with the intent of massacring is the Holocaust. So yeah, you know, it's kind of in a league of its own. Like, all the other genocides weren't nearly as well oiled and as well, like, performed. That being said, again, that's a qualitative difference that's not really, like, you know, doesn't really change the horribleness of other genocides or the horribleness of ethnic cleansing, for that matter, which is also pretty terrible. No. See, that the Ukrainian thing, like, even if it was, in fact, like, deliberate, which I can't say, because I'm not Stalin, so I will not, like, express myself on it. There was definitely, obviously, the famine. I don't think anyone denies that has, like, a brain. But was it really deliberate? Probably not. Like, come on, are you stupid? What was deliberate, for example, was the deportation of the peoples of the Caucasus and the Volga Germans to Central Asia. That was deliberate. But it still wasn't genocide. That was ethnic cleansing. You know? Like, again, once it starts, if you're fine with it, it doesn't mean you deliberately started it. It's a bit different. The difference between policy and, you know, neglect, general neglect. And, like, the reason for that starving is, well, very much economic, really. So, yeah. Because, you know, he was trying to essentially accumulate capital, essentially. Like, force capital accumulation. By, you know, extracting really heavily from agriculture. Which, as it turns out, doesn't work. You know, I could research the 1340, right? Oh, but, like, I get 2 armor technology bonuses. Okay, yeah, so I'm gonna have that research. Try to play with the world decolonized for once. I don't know. Not sure. Yeah, and exactly like Irate Pirate is saying right now is that Mao let like, you know, from 15 to 45 million people starve to death. And yes, those are the numbers, apparently. And it wasn't a genocide. In the near future. And for that matter, like, you know, those famines, again, very much economic at heart. Like, you can say what you want about them, and I don't support them, as I think I've already made pretty damn clear. But it's not in the same league as genocide. It's just, like, yeah, you can say, like, oh no, fucking Mao killed more people with the famine during, you know, 58 to 62 than Hitler in the, like, 3 years of the Holocaust, from 42 to 45. You could say, yes, okay. But is that really the way you, like, want to classify crimes, you know, genocide Olympics, essentially? I don't exactly think that this is how humanity should be thinking about, you know, its past mistakes. How popular is Gabriel D'Annunzio today? Not really popular, but Like he does get taught in like schools. No, you never stopped, but it will unblock you. Don't worry. Stalin didn't have any reason to not help the Ukrainians. Again, he was just trying to fucking force, essentially, you know, getting those resources off the fucking countryside to turbo develop the industry, which is not something that works economically, but that was the idea. Not to starve like fucking gorillions of Ukrainians. Because, you know, otherwise he'd have fucking finished the job or something. But yeah, he was perfectly fine with having them starve. He just didn't initiate it, which is my point. That's my point. Yeah, like England in the 19th century, because the Soviet Union's development level was, you know, 100 years behind that of the UK in 1917. Well, maybe not 100 years, but like domestically, outside of pockets of capitalism that have been developed with Franco-British capital, you basically had a feudal society for all intents and purposes. Like, the institution of serfdom was abolished in 1861, which, you know, you fucking know, not exactly like the most progressive thing ever. It's just like, you know, pretty basic stuff, like, you know, indentured servitude, perhaps shouldn't have it, only in 1861. And even with like the legal abolition of serfdom, you had in Russia a phenomenon where a bunch of people essentially were forced to kind of, because of their debts, essentially sell themselves back into serfdom, effectively, like, even though it was legally not serfdom anymore. So yeah. There is this theory that it was allowed to happen to cripple Ukrainian nationalism. That doesn't make any sense at the same time, though, because the best way to curb nationalism is to, you know, give economic incentives. The deportations were on purpose. Yes, of course they were. The deportations from, especially the Caucasus, but also the Volga and the decossacization, that was all on purpose. And that was ethnic cleansing. So yes, Stalin did do ethnic cleansing. Stalin industrialized the Soviet Union by killing agriculture, literally. In some parts of the country, yes. Which is what Mao tried to do later in the 50s, which, you know, didn't work as well. At least not in the dosage in which it was applied. It could probably have been applied in a different way, implemented in a different way, and it might have, you know, resulted in less problems and perhaps just a better... Just a better thing overall. Okay. Now hold on a minute there. Let's just make a really strong battleship. That's a slow ship. That's a slow ass ship. Oh well, let us make battleship. And then we make destroyer. Make torpedo destroyer. Wait, no, that's a bad idea. Fire control, no need. Guess we want anti-air destroyer. With anti-submarine warfare. For our regular submarine, for a regular destroyer. Oh god. Oh god, we're getting into women's rights. Jesus fucking Christ. Oh damn, we have a million things. Okay. All right. You know, most most scholars apparently actually agree that the Cultural Revolution didn't really have that much of an economic impact. It did, however, have like a really obviously far-reaching social impact and political impact, most of which negative. So yeah, I will agree with you on that. However, like Mao's most important policies ended up being in diplomacy. Hey, what's like? Did you join the Axis? I hope. No, I didn't yet. Because we ain't ready. Oh, Albania. Albania. You have... Yeah, you do. Right, what would happen if Albania actually tried to resist us? But they probably will, you know, die. Give me those radios. Poor Zog. Yeah, Zog's about to get cucked. Like, seriously hard. Zog's about to get cucked. Seriously hard. Goddamn Zog. Italian Tank Division. How great. Muslims aren't a minority in Albania. They used to be the majority before, you know, state atheism. Apparently now it's not really as prominent. But yeah, Muslims used to be the majority. It's the Orthodox that were a minority. There's some real good shit in here. Right, let's do the Pact of Steel stuff. These are good spirits though, and we need Ethiopia controlled to have them. Well, let's not care. Improved equipment conversion. Yeah, I guess we take this. Working as intended. Question about Japan. What do you think Japan would have annexed or installed governments if they won World War II? Well, number one, they couldn't have won World War II. It's impossible. Pretty much literally impossible. However, what would they... Yeah. Rip Albania. Albania be dead. What would they have done? Wait, what? What the fuck? Still lacking artillery after all this time? Are you insane? 2 per day. Who cares? Just deploy them. Nope. Porca troia. What was it talking about? I think I was talking about something, but I completely forgot what it was. Man, that infrastructure though. Apparently our infrastructure is real good in some places. Where it shouldn't be. Again, like fucking Albania was Muslim majority, not Muslim minority. Anyway, right, the Japan stuff. Well, I mean, the fundamental objectives of, like, you know, Japanese strategy are gonna be containment of Russia, domination of China at this point in history, and you know, securing a sphere that is essentially exclusive of the United States and the United Kingdom on essentially Southeast Asia, like, because the resources that Japan needed to function as an industrial society were in Southeast Asia. China was a potential pool of essentially manpower and agricultural products and you know, potentially some other, of course, resources, because China's pretty damn rich when it comes to resources. Manchuria was light industry, essentially, and agriculture, because of the soybean production, because of the industrial centers that had both heavy and light industry, especially Mukden. And, you know, it was also really good for Japanese capital. An ethnic... I don't think Albania has ethnic minorities. Like, I don't think Albania has ethnic minorities. There's, like, you know, no real ethnic groups in Albania, as far as I know. Like, it's all just Albanians. You know, of course, like, obviously there's, like, certain regional differences, but they're, like, really, really localized. And of course, like, you know, there probably were, like, Greeks and Montenegrins or whatever that lived around there. But as far as I'm, you know, concerned, I don't think Haja was any, you know, any member of any of those things. So yeah, essentially, like, the whole thing about Russia is that, like, some of Japan's leaders had ambitions to expand into Siberia, but, you know, really, like, the reason why Russia is a threat to Japan is that Russia wants to control a warm water port in the Pacific, right? And so for that, it needs to go for Manchuria, because Vladivostok is iced up at certain you know, times of the year. So it needs to go for Manchuria. If it needs to go for Manchuria, then it needs to get into Korea as well. It's the domino effect of geopolitics. And if it gets into Korea, it is a threat to Japan, because Korea is historically a springboard for any invasion of Japan. So if the Russians are essentially getting stronger in the North Pacific, then that's a, you know, pretty existential threat to Japan. So Russia must be contained. The problem is Russia's a whole lot, you know, stronger when it comes to, you know, resources than Japan, due to many reasons. So to avoid this, you know, there's two ways in which this cannot be applied. A, because obviously Russia's Far East is a secondary theater compared to all the others, so it's not the only thing that Russia's focusing on. And because the supply lines are obviously stretching quite a long ways. But Japan obviously is a lot more focused and a lot closer. And two, it's no, that was okay. So right, it's the number two is because Japan's is a lot closer, actually. And again, it's the whole question of focus, right? And so what Japan does to prevent that is that it, you know, tries to essentially expand in Southeast Asia to get those resources and to industrialize, and with the industrialization, it can hopefully compete with Russia, right? To get Southeast Asia, that's again the domino effect. To get Southeast Asia, you need to fight the United States and the UK, because they are trying to protect their own interests in, you know, the markets of the area, right? And of course France as well because of Indochina. So essentially, if Japan wants to survive against Russia, it has to get into a war with the United States. So to expand in the north, it also has to expand in the south. Because if the army primarily was pushing for northern expansion, if northern expansion is being pushed and becomes policy, then doing northern expansion by itself results in things like the Battle of Khalkhin-Gol in Mongolia, where where the Soviets just crushed the Japanese with superior mechanized troops, right? And so, you know, the strike south is important, essentially. You cannot avoid the strike south. The whole China stuff came about essentially because the Japanese, it was a failure of ideology. Like, the Japanese just didn't realize the Chinese will to fight. They had essentially been getting used to pushing over the Chinese, right? So when the border incident happened, they allowed it to escalate without essentially realizing it. And by the time they did realize it, you know, what could have been a kind of border skirmish around Beijing, if the Japanese leadership could control A, their subordinates, and B, their own thinking, both of which was impossible, but, you know, we're assuming that it is possible. What they had on their hands was a full-scale invasion of China's most, you know, prosperous territory, full-scale battles with the Chinese army's best divisions, and having to undertake a massive naval blockade, and getting tensions rising with the Western powers whose interests were being smashed up. And having to face, like, you know, having caused the Chinese United Front, you know, ending temporarily the Chinese Civil War. So, you know, they did that. And, you know, the most that they could have hoped for, really, was a government that was essentially... that's essentially what Irate Pirate is saying. The civilian government didn't control the military, just completely. What the best that they could have hoped for would be a compliant Chinese government that would form what they called the anti-communist front, right? Because obviously, you know, the undertones of Japanese puppethood, the ideological undertones, were rooted in anti-communism, because it would have been China and Japan's, you know, lopsided alliance essentially against the Soviet Union and the CCP. So yeah, didn't really appeal that much to China, because what it would have entailed is not really so much cessation of territories, but territorial disintegration into various entities, which, you know, was the fate that China had to suffer throughout 1910s and 1920s and early 1930s. It was starting to get better after the Northern Expedition in 26 and 27 and the Central Plains War of 31. So, like, the Chinese had fought and bled, or, well, the Chinese, Chiang Kai-shek's leadership had fought, you know, and bled and risked to get a sort of united China, and it got, you know, they just weren't ready to just give that up to Japan, you know? Japan's strategy in China was very, very much divide and conquer, you know? Very, very basic. Very, very effective. What would you do if Italy was invaded? Weird question, I know. Yeah, it would depend on, you know, who's invading it or what, but, you know, not exactly the nationalist type. Just saying that. I wouldn't really join the enemy, though. So after that long rant about Japan, let's go back to other stuff. Hey, what's up? Can you show your focus tree what it's like? Yeah, right, because you just came along, so you should definitely get to see it. Still don't know what we're supposed to do with our navy, actually. Depth charge forward, that sounds useful, regardless of what we're doing. So the focus tree is this. It's really, really cool. Really, really good. Wait, are there new... Oh, invest in research. Research speed. How great. Smoke generation. Hydrophones. Yes, hydrophones. Thanks. But Yang was close to surrender to the Japanese at some point in 39. Yeah, but 39 was pretty much the darkest hour because it was when Wuhan had fallen, and the Japanese seemed to be closing in on Chongqing. Yeah, essentially like Wuhan over here. Here we go. Was the secondary capital after Nanjing, but they were not able to hold it. So yeah. Although it's gotta be said that, like, while Chiang Kai-shek never really made peace with the Japanese, he did effectively enter into truces with them for pretty extended periods of time, you know, not really fighting them, not making any, like, proactive attempts to fight them for long, long periods of time. So yeah, that's a thing that was there. Oh wow, I don't have it here? That's a bad thing. For it to be abolished. What abolished? Oh, okay. I don't think really Stalinism believes the state should be abolished. Like, okay. This could be a long fucking discussion, so I'm not gonna get into it. But yeah, that would be a really long discussion, and also one I don't want to get into. So no, I will just abstain from it. Considering TNO is likely to release between the end of this year and the start of the next year, what do you think you're gonna play first? Well, I hope in the June release date, putting that out there at the start. Although I realize that it's likely to not happen, which is extremely sad. However, what do you think you're gonna play first? Oh goodness, China, definitely, I think. Something China. The modernizations paths look really cool, but yeah, you know, who knows. I mean, Maoism and its difference. How interested are you in TNO? What's your opinion on it? I'm very interested in TNO. However, it would need to find some way to make, like, you know, interwar periods fun, because TNO is going to be a lot less focused on actual fighting than nation building, right? So they're gonna need to, like, find a way to make it really good, and I'm not sure they can do it. Like, Kaiserreich does make some very laudable attempts at it, but it still doesn't succeed. Like, you know, if I'm playing Kaiserreich and I don't, like, you know, get into a bunch of wars, I don't have fun in the long term. It's still a lot more fun to play Kaiserreich sort of peacefully than pretty much any other, you know, mods, but TNO does have the potential to really, really bump it up quite a bit. So yeah, that's one of the big reasons why I'm interested in TNO, and the other is obviously like the whole like lore behind it and stuff, which is kind of interesting. So Maoism and the difference between Maoism and Stalinism. So essentially, Maoism is, again, like you said, Stalinism applied to China. So it is essentially big state controlled economy. And the creation of a party state which tries to control as much of, you know, life as possible. And I like how everyone is saying, what is TNO? What is TNO? You really should be looking for... It's the New Order. It's a mod for Hearts of Iron 4 that's going to come out at some point. Yeah, really, really ambitious. So Maoism's whole idea is... Maoism's whole shtick is actually a lot more revolutionary than Stalinism. Because Stalinism finds a country in which the revolution is complete. Who was a better general, Wu Peifu or Long Yun? Well, I know, like, Wu Peifu is very, very, like, hyped and stuff, but Long Yun was really, really good. Like, he proved himself very much in the whole political sphere better than Wu Peifu. And I know that sounds really weird because Wu Peifu was, like, the country's leader for a while, but he did get outmaneuvered quite, you know, often. While Long Yun, in the end, did get, like, outfoxed by Chiang Kai-shek, right? But he made a big comeback and actually, you know, defected to the communists, and essentially, in the communist side, he also went on to administer Yunnan for a long while. So, Long Yun, more of a survivor, definitely quite a lot of good instincts on his side. Peronist gang. Is China the communist version of Prussia, an army with a state? Nah, not really. Like, the army was... the army in China is subordinate to the party. It's a party armed wing, essentially. The biggest armed wing of any party in the world. But still legally one. And the whole idea of, you know, the party's leadership for the PRC is quite similar, obviously, to Stalinist Russia. Very, very similar. But Mao was much, much better at mobilization. Like, while Stalin had less economic blunders and generally was less ideologically driven, was more pragmatic, Mao was someone that could really use, like, the masses, right? That was the whole thing of Mao. It was the masses, right? Essentially, to pressure his internal opponents, he was really, really good at using a conjunction of foreign policy, domestic policy, and ideology to mobilize the masses on his side. And it's what, for example, he does even in the Cultural Revolution. In the Cultural Revolution, you have that the international situation has gone really, really shit for China, right? Because you have the Sino-Soviet split. At the same time, you have had a couple of Taiwan Straits crisis. You have the Vietnam War. So you're not exactly ready to make friends with the United States. So what do you do if, you know, you're weaker than any single one of these two, and yet you could fight both of them at the same time at any moment? All the while, you have a part of the Communist Party, essentially, of that was, you know, pro-Soviet, right? Again, not really sure. Not really sure. Yeah, like, so what do you do in that situation? Mao's answer is very creative, right? Essentially, use, like, you know, lower strata of, you know, society, mobilize them, right? And also mobilize the intellectuals. Mobilize first the intellectuals against the bureaucracy, and then the peasants against the intellectuals, right? All the while creating a kind of propaganda craze about a new war, rallying nationalist support behind it, also with border skirmishes with the Soviet Union, all the while maintaining a facade of friendliness with the Soviet Union and also of hostility to the United States with the involvement in Vietnam. And then, once it starts getting out of hand, which it was getting out of hand, you take out, you know, the people that are starting to get more powerful that you promoted, you know, Lim Biao and all those kind of people, and you just do a big foreign policy turnaround and make friends with the United States. Like, you know, that whole cycle was pretty much like, in terms of, like, politically, just political survivorship, and also in terms of, you know, foreign policy, really, really well orchestrated. It did have, like, big social repercussions in the long term. Yeah, they did maintain relations, but it also re-established relations with the Americans. So yeah. Do you think the Mensheviks could have reformed Russian Kerensky, keep it from falling apart? No. They could have if they had come to power after 1905, but in 1905 they weren't nearly strong enough. And the Russian liberals proved to be far too weak to hold on to power. So the choices were either, again, autocracy, the sort of feeble socialism, sort of, kind of, maybe, we're also going to kill the peasants, even though we are a revolutionary party of peasants, of the SR Menshevik brand, the Socialist Revolutionary Mensheviks, which were not the same thing, but, you know, we're in a coalition. And obviously the Bolsheviks, right? The Bolsheviks only become a viable, you know, a viable party to take power with the outbreak of the war, right? Because of their internationalist and anti-war message, right? And, like, the SRs and the Mensheviks, because of their ideas on the Russian state, right? And the particular conditions of Russia and of Russia's economic development, weren't ready to take the steps required to end the war, right? Because what do you need to do to end the war? You need to go against, essentially, the big bourgeoisie, right? Because it is in their interest to continue the war, to continue the links with Franco-English capital, right? And also to acquire, markets and spheres of influences. Even though it was by far not as pronounced in Russia as in other countries, imperialism was a thing. And by imperialism, you mean like Lenin's definition of it, which is monopolist capitalism, which has to essentially always find new markets, always destroy opposition, always gobble up and, concentrate resources. And so that power block, right, which wasn't monolithic, but it was a power block. It wasn't as big in Russia as it was in Germany or France or the United Kingdom. But it was there. And that was what was propulsing, along with reactionary ideology, the Russian participation in the First World War. The Mensheviks didn't believe that it was possible for Russia to achieve socialism. At least not at the moment in which they take power. Why? Because they see correctly that Russia has, a very, very backward economic system, right? So needed more development. And technically orthodox Marxism would be like, yeah, before getting socialism, you need capitalism, right? So their conclusion is, well, we need to ally with the Russian bourgeoisie to take power, destroy the aristocracy and the autocracy, and build capitalism. Lenin said, no, that's a bad thing because it, that's giving away the political autonomy of the Revolutionary Party or whatever. And so that's the clash between Mensheviks and Bolsheviks. The Mensheviks end up allying with the SRs, the Socialist Revolutionaries, who are saying kind of the opposite of the Mensheviks in some ways. They say that, yes, Russia can have socialism, but they kind of disagree on what socialism actually is, because they're not Marxists. Their version of socialism is more utopian and also more agrarian and more nationalist. Because what they say is that the Russian, and also more reactionary, because they say that the Russian village commune system, the Община, is like a kind of natural socialism, a natural communism. So what's really needed is the breakup of big landowners, right? At the same time, however, the socialist revolutionaries had two wings, right? The left and the right. The right was the one that had the most representatives in the government after the February Revolution. So, yeah. The right one was really kind of just an agrarian reformist wing. While the left one, which ended up being allied with the Bolsheviks, was the one that was kind of going for the whole revolution thing. And again, because the right SRs and the Mensheviks just... Their programs were not compatible with fighting the Russian bourgeoisie, or capitalist class, or whatever the fuck you want to call it, entrepreneurial class. They just, they couldn't end the war, and because they couldn't end the war, there was no way they could have stayed in power. Like, Russia would have either blown up in some way or another, gone back into some kind of mega reactionary state, military dictatorship kind of thing, such as, such as what almost happened because of the Kornilov affair, such as what, you had the Black Hundreds running around. Ooh. When can we join the Axis? Oh, after 1st of May. Okay. So we're gonna play until the 1st of May. Oh no, whoa, it's 11:30. Holy shit, I've been playing for a long time. Okay, I guess in 5 minutes from now exactly, I will end the stream. So if any of you have anything to say it no. And of course, people are arguing about fucking Euro communism in the chat. Oh, now it's called the Axis Powers, not the Axis. Interesting. But yeah, like, Eurocommunism is a thing, and I don't want to talk about it right now, because it would be a really, really long thing. And obviously that would be bad. Man, we never really fixed our artillery shortage, did we? Or didn't we? Alright. Get more divisions on the line then. Yeah, I mean, Eurocommunism is that kind of a weird thing which relies ideologically and it relies ideologically on the Soviets. Also, its political economy is pretty much Soviets. And we're talking, you know, Cold War Soviets, obviously. However, it's tungsten, I need it. Steel, I do not need it. However, its foreign policy alignment is not Soviets. So it was just kind of a really, really weird thing. Big contradictions, you know? Contradictions. Thoughts on Article 13? Well, as I've already said, it's like, don't really see too much into it. Is it me, or does the mod give Italy a stupid amount of industry and troop capacity? Actually, the industry is given to everyone. It's increased for everyone. Like, for example, as you can see, the Germans right now have 300 factories, which we are at half, which is a lot, actually. And we're also very close to France and the UK. But for example, the Soviets, yeah, we're half what the Soviets have. Ho il mio esame di italiano domani. Questo valga come studiare? Probabilmente no. anche perché sto per finire la stream, quindi probabilmente non otterrai tanto italiano in questo momento. Che tipo di esame però? Tipo università o scuola? Oppure certificazione di un qualche tipo? Oh crap. Do I not have the motorized division? Right. This is a pretty shitty division, actually. We're gonna have to reorganize all of this, but I'm gonna do this off screen. Woodstock is speaking spaghetti now. Oh shit. Yeah. Fear the spaghetti. Don't touch on my spaghetti. Anyway, I'll be signing off now. I do want to thank you all for joining me. I have no idea how many of you were there. Something like 30. Okay, that's a lot. 30 at sometimes. I do thank you all for memeing about fucking Maoism and stuff, which, you know, happens almost every time I stream, but yeah, it was really, really good. Of course, we talk about some good genocide, and yeah, overall had a good time. Next up, we're gonna have some actual fucking action, most likely. against Le Franchise and you know, joining the Axis and stuff. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Do want to thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you all soon, and take care. The spirit of the Spartans, of course. Every time I speak spaghetti and playing HOI, I imagine just emigrating to America.